Am I the a-hole I told my mother-in-law that's all on her? My 5-year-old son's birthday is coming up, and he wants a chocolate cake with chocolate icing. It's his birthday, so I said yes. My mother-in-law can be a selfish cow sometimes, and my son was telling her how's he getting chocolate cake and chocolate ice cream. My mother-in-law said she didn't like that and my so should get something we all like. My son said, it's not your birthday, so you don't get a say. This would be normally disrespectful, but recently said this to my son when went to his friend's party. When my son didn't like the cake flavor, and we had the discussion about how the birthday person gets to choose their cake flavor because it's their special day. My mother-in-law was shocked, and I told her the same thing. I told my son, when it's your birthday, you can get whatever flavor of cake you want. My mother-in-law called me a bitch, and my son a spoiled brat. So I told her, with that attitude, you won't be coming to the party. My husband was whatafuk and tried to talk me into ordering his mom a cake she would enjoy after our son, and I was rude to her. I said, no, it isn't her day, and that just teaches our son to act entitled at other people's parties. If we don't stick to the rules and etiquette that we explain to him, and it will just make him confused, entitled, and spoiled. My husband saw the truth in that, because our son was excited about his birthday cake for his birthday, and now understands that not everything is about him. Other people get to enjoy their special event how they want to. In return, my son gets to enjoy his special event, and occasions how he wants to. My mother-in-law doesn't seem to get that, and wants my Psalm to write her a sorry note, and what he did wrong. My husband and I don't feel like my son did anything wrong by repeating what his parents told him. My mother-in-law said she's not coming to the birthday party, or getting him a gift without the apology note. I told my mother-in-law that's all on her. Not the a-hole. But why is your husband not sticking up for you and your son? He's equally guilty here for that. My husband didn't know the backstory of why my son said that. He wasn't at his friend's party a few months ago when I took my son aside and talked to him about hating the cake flavor. Has he since spoken to his mom? Your husband needs to tell his mom that under no circumstances is it okay to call you a bitch or your son a spoiled brag. If he hasn't, he's still an a-hole in my books. Not the a-hole. Your mother-in-law's behavior is so entitled and rude that she got called on it by a 5-year-old. That should sting, but it should be a wake-up call that she's incredibly out of pocket. It's not spoiled at all to want to have your birthday cake be in your favorite flavor. But it's incredibly spoiled and selfish to tell someone else to change their birthday cake flavor to suit you. There is someone acting like a spoiled brat 5-year-old here, but it's not the actual 5-year-old, and hopefully mother-in-law sticks to her word. You'll have a better time without her and her childish behavior and attendance when you're trying to teach your son how to act with maturity. Personally, I think your son acted well. His statement wasn't rude at all. The rudeness was coming from your mother-in-law, and he simply shut that down and stood up for himself. That's very impressive from a 5-year-old. Not only out of pocket for having the tantrum, but to disrespect OP by calling her a bitch and her grandson a spoiled brat in front of the child. Like, lady, get out. If anyone needs to write an apology note, it is your mother-in-law and your husband for not using his brain and defending his mother before his wife and child in this case. Sometimes the daughter-in-law is wrong, but not in this case, not one bit. Thanks for teaching your child empathy and understanding. It's never too young to start those habits. Tell your mother-in-law your son will apologize after she writes you a sorry note for calling you a bitch and your son a brat. I predict that will happen exactly never. I think you're taking the exact right tone here. If she expects to make her grandson's events all about her, it's important that she understand how that is not going to work. I feel some sympathy for your husband's childhood. If she expects that calling names will get what she wants, she is less mature than your 5-year-old. Not the a-hole. Keep up the good work. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister and her boyfriend out because they don't respect my sleep schedule? My 34F sister, 27F, and her boyfriend, 28M, moved in with me at the end of August after he was laid off from work. She doesn't make enough to pay rent on her own. The agreement was for them to stay at my apartment through the holidays so they could save up money and he could find a new job. All they'd have to contribute is $500 for rent and food. He has done his part, and found a new job, and they have been saving money for their move, which is part of the reason why I feel like I might be the a-hole here. I work graveyard in a small group home for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I cannot sleep at work because I'm the only one there, and I have to be awake in case one of our residents needs me or there's an emergency. I spend my time at work cleaning, doing documentation, changing people's depends, making their meals for the next day, and giving a few of them their showers in the morning. Needless to say, I have to stay awake and alert the entire time I'm there. My sister has a difficult time understanding that I need my place to be reasonably quiet during the day so I can get my sleep. I could understand some normal amount of noise, but she took it over the top, laughing obnoxiously loud, blasting her music or TV in the living room, right next to my bedroom, having loud guests over, being very loud in the bathroom and kitchen, etc. I asked very nicely many times to please keep it down, and she always apologized and said okay. But then she started to make it my problem and said I should buy noise-canceling headphones or sleep at my boyfriend's place instead. I finally got upset and told her they're being allowed to stay with me as guests, and if she can't act as such, then they need to find somewhere else to stay. She spent the rest of the day calling all her friends and everyone in our family, telling them how horrible I am for threatening to kick them out. Our parents reached out to me and asked if that was true. I told them the situation and they're on my side, but said I should give them the month to figure things out. I called and spoke with her boyfriend, and he felt genuinely bad about the situation and had no idea this was an issue. I try not to bring him into things, but figured since this would affect him, it was only right. Now she's even more furious with me because I went behind her back and called him and manipulated him into being on my side. I told her, look, I will give them until November 1st to figure something out. And he even said it probably wouldn't even be that long as they could go stay with his parents. But my sister is choosing to die on this hill and make me out to be the villain, when all I wanted was some quiet, so I could function at work. Am I the a-hole for kicking them out? I do feel bad because her boyfriend is doing what he can and is being reasonable. I just don't understand why my sister can't comprehend that I can't sacrifice my sleep and put my livelihood at risk. Thoughts? Not the a-hole. She is a guest in your home. She needs to respect you and not invite people over herself. The audacity in suggesting you stay with your boyfriend, effectively kicking you out of your own apartment, is staggering. Her calling you out on contacting people about this is her throwing stones in glass houses, because she did exactly that to slander you. You need that rest, because your job has you responsible for people who are unable to do things for themselves. That and sleep deprivation is dangerous. That trumps any of your sister's needs or wants in your home, or how her boyfriend is impacted. If you're on a lease, what are the rules around guests? Can you defer to that as a reason to kick out your sister? I work in the same industry, and my husband is a shift worker as well. Your sister isn't selfish, immature brat. Not the a-hole. Isn't she working? When does she find the time to be so loud and obnoxious? Maybe she needs to find a second job so they can afford to move out quicker. It says in the post that she works, but I wonder if it's just part-time or something. Whilst it's true, full-time positions aren't enough to cover costs right now. Like you said, how does she have all this free time to be obnoxiously loud? She works part-time at a grocery store. Her income was always supposed to be supplemental in their household, because her boyfriend made decent money as a construction worker. If they are so poor they cannot afford their own lodging, then your sister needs to have a full-time job. He's not making good enough money if they cannot afford their own place. Well, he was making good money with his old job, and his new job he's making decent money. They're just having a hard time because she tends to spend more than they can afford. A lot of it is going towards takeout, makeup, beauty products, clothes, and nights out with her friends. That is not a hard time. A hard time is my car broken unexpectedly. I have a medical bill that was a surprise. My appliance suddenly broke. Overspending on convenience items isn't a hard time, it's just irresponsible. Not the a-hole. You did your sister a solid by letting her and her boyfriend stay at your place. Sounds like your sister's boyfriend is a mature, reasonable person. But your sister sounds like an entitled, inconsiderate brat. You've done nothing wrong. You need to get your sleep. Why doesn't she go to her friend's house during the day to hang out? She has some nerve suggesting that you go stay with your boyfriends. Not the a-hole. She needs to ask all these friends and family members she complained to if she can stay with them.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting videos.